Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pampering Myself Podcast. Hello, podcast listeners. To my returning listeners, appreciate you as always. And for my first timers, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope something is said that resonates with you and that you'll lock us in by subscribing to this channel. Please note, new episodes are broadcast every fourth Saturday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to our first episode of 2024. I'm super excited. Joining me this evening is my daughter, Alicia, CEO of Diamondback Productions, LLC, and my niece, Tawana, the Executive Director of Petty Populous, a nonprofit organization. Hello, ladies, and welcome to the Pampering Myself Podcast, our last episode of the Empowerment Series titled Visionary Voices, a Manifestation Experience.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me as well.
All right. So we all know that the new year brings about hope and change, the need to do better than the last, to set goals, and to prosper. And although we all have good intentions, not everyone succeeds. Researchers suggest that only 9% of Americans that make resolutions complete them. In fact, the research goes on to show that 23% of people quit their resolutions by the end of the first week and 43% by the end of January. Now that's alarming. And the news did a poll today, and a majority of the people responded that they no longer even bother to make New Year's resolutions. So I ask you the question, what does your track record look like? Do you still make New Year's resolutions? And if so, how have they served you in the past? Tawana, I'll ask you that first.
Yes, well, I have a pretty horrid track record of resolutions. I have a margin of about 98% failure and 2% success.
That about sounds like me. Alicia?
Well, I did used to make New Year's resolutions. Currently, I don't anymore because I'm going to say I probably have 100% failure track record and New Year's resolutions.
And that's crazy because that's what people were saying, and I can attest to that as well. I stopped myself some years ago because it's like torture. Why torture yourself? Now, Alicia, let me ask you, why do you think you weren't successful?
I think that it all starts out as a great idea, new year, new me. And then by the second or third day, you realize, life doesn't allow change that quickly. So you suddenly just fall back into old habits. And I feel like it's just easier that way because that's where you're comfortable at.
I'm going to agree. Tawana, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll say that also for me, it feels like those New Year's resolutions are pushing you to step outside of who you are. And then, like, you're just supposed to do that overnight. And I think that's what complicates it for me. It's like I have to switch an entire routine and become someone that I'm not in order to pursue this. And so I figured out other strategies to kind of, move forward. But resolutions don't work for me.
Yes, I'm gonna have to agree with you both because they didn't work for me. So in this episode, we're gonna dive into personal experience, insights, and practical tips, sharing how to increase the odds of success. But before we get started, I want to share an awakening I had a few years ago. After years of failing at New Year's resolution, I wanted to know why. So I kept asking myself that question until I was serious about knowing the answer. So I began doing a lot of research, which led me to reading a series of self-help books and concepts that focused on self-improvement. I took a few personality tests, and although I gained a lot of knowledge, it didn't really affect the kind of change I needed to follow through. That is, until I learned about manifestation, which was pivotal. So the question is there a difference between New Year's resolutions and manifestation? Well, we're about to find out. A New Year's resolution is a commitment that an individual makes at the beginning of the year to achieve a personal goal, improve their habits, or make positive changes in their life. They're often involved setting specific, achievable objectives for self-improvement. And while resolutions are typically made at the start of the year, their success often depends on consistent effort and commitment throughout the year. Would you all agree on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Manifestation. Manifestation, in a broader sense, refers to the process of bringing something into reality through intention, belief, and visualization. It's often associated with metaphysical or spiritual practice. Individuals focus on aligning their thoughts, emotions, and actions with detailed or desired outcome. This may involve practicing like positive affirmations, visualization, and maintaining a strong belief in the realization of one's goals. Manifestation is not limited to a specific time frame and can be applied to various aspects of life, including health, relationships, career, and personal development. Now, clearly, that's a big difference, at least on paper and from my sources. But I'm guessing all of these things that we define in manifestation, why couldn't they not be crossed over into resolutions? But it seems when we talk about manifestation, we're more focused. So let's talk about manifestation and see how it's working. Tawana, I'd like to ask you, how did your journey into manifestation begin and what inspired you to explore this area?
It's interesting that you would ask me that, especially after what you just read, because I think about all those failed resolutions, and I started to figure that I needed a kind of mental practice to get myself to move. And so I started, first off, prayer is one of my ways through manifestation. But in addition to that, like I do these mental uh practices that make me vision ahead of where I want to go. So, just really quickly, I'll say, if I have a goal that I want to reach, I'm going to be visioning beyond that goal. And when I vision beyond that goal, I can think of the steps that I need to take to put it into practice, which is different than when I was doing a resolution. A resolution was like, oh, I want to lose weight or whatever. I'm going to join a gym tomorrow. Whereas, I might say, with a manifestation, I might say, I'm going to lose this amount of weight by a year from now. So I need to do these 10 things if I'm going to sustain that. And so it's like a mental commitment for me with manifestation.
Okay, absolutely. And that brings me into my next question, Alicia. When we talk about the process of bringing something into reality through intention, we're referring to steps or actions needed in order to bring about our desired outcome or experience. Obviously, in the past, when you failed, that was not the case. Did you have a plan, or do you just wish something would happen and it happens?
I would say for me, I'm more of a visual person. So anything that I think to manifest, I like to see it visually. So I'll either draw up a mock-up of something or print out a poster of something. I just need to have something that I can see daily. And it's usually placed some that first thing when that's the first thing I see. And that helps aid in the manifestation process because it keeps it in the forefront of my mind. And that's my sole purpose each day, is to get closer to that.
Okay, so there is a plan. It's not
Yes.
oh, well, like I used to do back in the day when I set resolutions, I would say I want to lose weight. And then, so what's your plan? Well, I don't have a plan. I just want to lose the weight. And when I realized it don't work, it's because I didn't take any steps to make it work. You have to come up with the things that you need to do because it doesn't just happen by itself. So there
Exactly.
are times, right? There's times that we get in our own way. Doubt and fear creeps in, and we begin to second guess ourselves. Are our dreams too big? Are our goals too hard? Has there ever been a time, Tawana, that you didn't trust your process and that you wanted to give up? If so, or not, how did you get back on track?
Ooh, that's a daily struggle, if I'm honest with myself. You referenced the organization that I found that I'm executive director of. I'll just briefly say, starting a nonprofit is not an easy task, and there's a lot that goes with that. And so self-doubt, it creeps in on a regular basis, but I know because of the manifestation and because of the plan that I've set for myself and this organization, that there are so many steps to what one might consider success, right? And I'm still new in this process. So I have to tell myself every day that there are so many more steps that you have to practice, towards in order for you to get to the place where you feel that this has gotten to a comfortable space for you. And so, yeah, so I have the self-doubt, but prayer, staying focused and knowing that practice, and study, and different types of tools to enhance my skill sets and knowledge are going to be important to help me on this journey. It's manifestation is not just snapping your fingers and then you get to that place that you're trying to reach. And so, yeah, I have that self-doubt, but those other practices help bring me back into focus.
Mhm. Alicia, did you want to address that question?
Well, yeah, I've had several situations where the doubt and the wanting to give up creeps into your mind. Of course, several things it did win, and in the end, I did quit. But once you manifest something and decide that's really the path that you're on, I use the doubt as energy. I feel like the devil wants to try you when you're getting closer to success. So now it's just a different way of thinking that I adapted. So whenever a doubt or insecurity creeps into my mind, I use that as fuel and motivation to just keep pushing harder.
Yes, I remember when I was in grad school, I had the same halfway through. I was like, why am I doing this? Trying to talk myself out of it. I should just quit right now. But then my thoughts were, okay, I came this far. I have just as far to go to complete it. But if I quit, where would I be? I'm still going to owe all this money and not be successful. So I kept pushing through until I finally made it. But yes, I think doubt and fear creeps into all of us. We just have to find what works for us in order to push through. But there are times that maybe, our goals were too high, or maybe we do need to pivot and change up and do some things different. So I don't think we ought to beat ourselves up if that's the end result.
Right.
So they say in manifestation, it doesn't have a time limit. Like on resolutions in our minds, I guess we think of a 12-month time period. Maybe some of us put, time limits on it, and maybe some don't. So I remember when I was doing my resolutions, I just said, this is what I want to do. I never thought about a time. But manifestation doesn't have a time. But in reality, we need to have some way of measuring. Otherwise, it'll just go on. I mean, we'll manifest the same goal for 20 years if you don't have some time limit on it. So, how do you measure? 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 How do you me if you're heading in the right direction, if it's not by time. Alicia?
That's a good question, because I never really put a time limit on it either as well. I would say, I guess, just reality. Sometimes we do tend to set goals that just aren't achievable, but I feel like any goal should be achievable, especially if it's something that's already been done. So I just kind of look at it like the only difference between those who make it and those who don't is the ones that made it never gave up. Now, I don't think that if you're chasing the same goal for 30 years, like I manifest winning a lottery, but of course that hasn't happened. That's been a manifestation since I knew what the lottery was. But I think you just have to place realism on what your goal or your dream is. And then that's how you can kind of know if the manifestation is reality or just you living in la la land.
Yes, you're right. There are some things we get wild about. Tawana, how do you look at the time frame there? How do you measure whether or not you're in the right direction?
Yeah, that's interesting. Similarly, I think, my larger goal or vision, is far away, but it's kind of like a scaffolding. There are these smaller iterations that if I feel good about them, I feel like, okay, I'm moving in the right direction. Okay, this is the way God is leading me. And it's when I don't feel good about that movement is when I take some steps back and say, should I try something else? Should I pivot in this way or that way? Should I bring someone else on to do that aspect of the work? And so it's not so much timing myself in that direction, so much as feeling what my energy is telling me about the decisions that I'm making along the process or about the goals that I'm achieving along the process. And so, yeah, I'm laughing about the lottery with Alicia. It was like really tempting not to play that huge lottery that was the other day. And we were laughing about it earlier, Auntie, about the a winner being close to home. And it's like those little temptations creep in, but shoot, if you play the lottery every day, you won't get any of your goals attained because you'll spend all your money. So it's like, at what point do you say, okay, this is an occasional thing, or this is something that I have to, move into another way to reach my goals and not put it up to luck. So it's a balance, really. Everything in moderation, and the things you really want to achieve, you have to do it with consistency.
And you said something that was important, I think, when you talk about long term and short term. When you set out, and I'm always go back to the weight, I set out and I might say I want to lose 50 pounds. Well, the reality is I'm not going to do it in January. So I have to set small goals. Maybe January might be a small goal of 5 pounds. That's something that will get me motivated. So if I don't lose any in January, 5 pounds was a very small goal that may not discourage me. But if I'm thinking that I'm going to lose 50 pounds because somebody or these TV personality people all on this medication are losing 50 and 60 pounds in a week, not a week, a month, then that might discourage me. So those very small steps leading up to the ultimate goal might be what can keep you motivated.
Right. And can I say something real quick? Oh,
Yes.
I apologize.
Yes.
You just made me think about it, even on my own weight loss journey, right? Um, the times that I have succeeded in taking off the weight that make me think about the difference between a resolution and manifestation is if when I'm thinking resolution wise and I'm like, I'm going to go sign up for this gym membership and I'm just going to go to the gym. That's me in resolution. But when I do a manifestation, I'm like, you know what? By March, I need to be able to fit into these jeans. So it's like I've visioned myself in these jeans, and it might even be attached to a particular event. And that doesn't say I'm going to sustain that weight loss, but that goal that I've visioned outside of myself far down the line, and I've placed a tangible, aspect to it, like a pair of jeans or a vacation or something like that. That changes it to manifestation for me. I'm manifesting myself in this outfit at this event. Whereas when I do a resolution, I'm like, I need to lose weight. I don't set any kind of specifics around it. And then I say I'm going to join a gym. I might not even know what gym I'm going to join, but that's what I'm telling myself. So
Right.
it's like more abrupt, and there isn't a scaffolding. There aren't any like measurements to it. I'm just jumping in and saying I'm going to do this thing. But if I manifest myself and I see myself in those jeans at that event, then I'm more strategic about it.
Alicia, you had something to say?
Yeah, I was just wanted to touch slightly on a point that you mentioned as well with your weight loss journey, of how you see people on TV who are using the medications and all of those things, and they seem to be successful. I think the issue that we have is we always tend to align our success with what we see someone else doing, and not owning your own journey. Their path is not your path. So for me, I know it was like with the music, when I was interested in becoming an artist, a rap artist, after I reached a certain age, it forced me to stop, because mentally I felt like if everybody that's coming out now is like 16, 17, and I'm like 25 years old. So that made me stop thinking that I would be too old. And then you'll have artists that come out later in life that were even older than that. So had I not paid too much attention to the market and what everybody else was doing, who's to say that I wouldn't have become successful if I pursued that path? So I think it's important to own your own journey and not look so much to what other people have achieved in their lives.
That is so true. Definitely. You have to set your own goals and what works for you. And that's why some of these methods that we're going to talk about next are determined what works for you. So there's a variety of methods that people choose. So let's talk about a few. Visualization. Alicia, I'm going to ask you the question. Visualization helps harness the power of your mind and imagination to create your own reality. You've shared in the past that it worked for you. So why do you think this method is so successful? And is this the only method that you use?
It's not really the only method that I use, but is the most important one that I use. I feel like when I see something, it makes it a little more tangible. It makes it more believable. So it forces me to fight for it more. And like I said, to me, it's important to keep these visual images I keep them in my bedroom, maybe on a mirror in the bathroom, somewhere close that it's the first thing I see every day. And it's somewhere that I frequent often, like even on a refrigerator. So it's a constant reminder that this is what your goal is. This is what you're trying to manifest. So it keeps, as long as your thought process is on that, everything that you do in that day and every time you see it is the opportunity to move forward and towards what you're trying to achieve. So for me, that's one of the most important things. Like I said, I just have to be able to see it. And it just, as long as it's on my mind, it's almost a tunnel vision until that's achieved.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, Tawana, I know that crystals and gems carry energy that we can harness, and it's believed that there are crystals that help manifest certain things in different areas of our lives. Talk to us about the benefit of these stones.
Yes, one of my favorites that I actually wear every day is the blue obsidian, and it's a clarity stone. And so, in addition, I'm a public speaker. I do a lot of facilitation and performance. And so, in addition to prayer and always asking for my voice to be covered, I like to have these clarity stones like by my throat chakra, by my throat area, to cover my voice, to make sure that I'm getting a clear mental image and that I'm tuning into the energy of the space that I'm in. And so, I couple the stones with faith. I have the faith that I'm being led, but then I also want to tap into the energy in the room. And so I use blue obsidian. Then I also use dark patchouli, which is an oil that helps to calm my nerves. And so just that having that scent, that aroma on me that I can smell, in addition to it being good for your skin, is helpful to help clear your senses and calm your nerves. And so those are just two of the modalities that I use in order to center myself and come into the space that I'm in that moment.
Okay, sounds good. I know you've given me a stone or two, and I like those essential oils myself. Have either one of you tried meditation, affirmations, visual boards, gratitude
Oh,
journals?
yeah. All of them.
Yeah. I get a little impatient with the journaling and things of that nature. I don't like to read a lot more so than see the actual visuals. I guess that's probably why I'm in the production industry and I like to make movies and things that you can look at. So I tend to stray away from the actual writing process.
Yeah.
I
And
like,
I'll just say, oh, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, Tawana.
Right now, I just recently started the book by Shonda Rhimes, Year of Yes.
Okay,
How,
I have that book.
yes, yes. And so I bought the journal, the
Hmm.
accompanying journal that goes with it. And so hopefully, this is one of those things where it's like I'm trying to pivot that from a resolution to a manifestation. So what I think I'm going to do is couple that with my existing manifestation work and see how that works out. But that's what I'm trying to make that attempt now.
I've picked some words this year to use as my 2024 words. The first group of words is called let go. And let go is of anything, let go of pain, sorrow, hurt, negativity, bad
Mhm.
habits, so anything that is against me. And then the problem I also have is focus. So focus
Yeah.
is my next word. Have either you considered or do you have words and these are like a form of affirmations that might drive you to manifestation? Alicia?
I was laughing at the focus because yes, that's like one of my problematic areas. I can't focus on things too long if it is not extremely intriguing to me. So, hence is probably why I don't do well with the journaling because after reading a couple lines, my mind done left and went somewhere else. But I definitely tried words of affirmation to kind of will me back in. But again, the focus problem, so I tend to not even focus on that anymore. That's why the visualization helps me so well because I just have to look at it, and once I see it, all the thoughts re-enter my mind.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
with you there. What about you, Tawana?
Yeah, so I'll say two things. So I'm currently, I'm always reading a book. I'm also reading a book called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. And
Uh,
so this book helps me, it's helping me learn like what a good strategy is, what a bad strategy is. Like, how do you move these thoughts that you have into practice? And so I'll let y'all know how that goes
okay.
afterwards. But I was wondering if I could read a very short poem.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is a poem that was gifted to me, and it's called "Prescription for the Disillusioned" by Rebecca Del Rio. And this was given to me last year, and I pasted it on my bathroom mirror. And so this is the poem that I see every morning when I wake up. And it says, "Come new to this day. Remove the rigid overcoat of experience, the notion of knowing, the beliefs that cloud your vision. Leave behind the stories of your life. Spit out the sour taste of unmet expectation. Let the stale scent of what ifs waft back into the swamp of your useless fears. Arrive curious without the armor of certainty, the plans and planned results of the life you've imagined. Live the life that chooses you. New every breath, every blink of your astonished eyes. And I love this poem, particularly the first line, just come new to this day.
That's right. Every
And
day.
it just sets
Beautiful.
me over every morning.
Yes, that is definitely beautiful. I personally like, um, other than meditation, I like vision boards as well. I like being able to see the things because I'm also visual, and it inspires me more than the words that I might not see as often. So if I can see it now, the only thing that I did not do last year that I am going to be more intentional about this time is placing it where I can see it. I've recently learned that a lot of times, we think about boards, we think about these big giant boards. But I was in one of my classes, and the lady showed us how to do it for our phone to make it be part of our phone so it's always with us. And then, of course, you can put it in your planners. So it's different ways that they don't necessarily have to be this big 24 by 24 board or whatever that you can't carry around. So I'm going to try that this year, doing it in different formats so that I can see it all the time. And it will help keep you motivated. So that's my preference, the vision boards. And of course, like I said, meditation and affirmations.
Nice.
So I would like at this time, Tawana, I'm going to ask you to go first. Is there a time that you manifest something and it was successful? Would you like to share a story with us?
Yes. Well, I'm currently on a 2-year fellowship, and I manifested myself into achieving this goal. Every day I said, the fellowship is mine. The fellowship is mine. And I knew hundreds of people were out for this fellowship. And, based on the criteria, it was a very limited possibility that I was going to get it. But I manifested the journey for myself. I said that you are not going to be employed at a job past, this particular month. You're going to have this fellowship and you're going to start your nonprofit. And these are things that I was saying every day. Like I was telling myself, as much as I was waking up and saying, come new to this day, I was saying, this is your journey. These are the things that you're going to do. And I didn't allow myself to, natural doubt creeps in, but I
Mhm.
kept reminding myself that this is going to be the future, that's going to be for me. And so it's like I got the call saying that I had the fellowship. And even when you tell yourself every day, this is for you, there's still that measure of surprise and shock. But I just felt in my heart, in my spirit, that I had claimed this for myself, that I had done the things that needed to be done to move myself in alignment and be ready for this blessing should it come my way. And things just they moved, they aligned. And I felt good about it. I felt like I was in the right spot and that this was the time for me to walk the journey that I'm walking. And so, yeah, it was very powerful to come together. And I'll just say this briefly, to bring prayer together with my stones and my crystals and my affirmations and like make like this kind of like collective force, that we're visioning what this future for myself could be. And so, yeah, that's the story that I will share.
Okay, so there were steps and things involved, and like you say, you prepared yourself for this journey, and that was something that you manifest. What lessons have you learned along the way that you believe would be valuable for other listeners?
That you do, if you set yourself out for a big goal, take those small steps to prepare yourself should you get the thing that they have the saying, be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm.
And you should take that as a guiding light if you're wishing for things to come into your life, prepare your life to receive those things that you are wishing for. And so you can't just throw it in the air and just hope it pours down on you. You have to start to plan to receive the things that you say you desire. And so it's a collective process. You have to be a willing participant throughout all the steps to receive that blessing that you believe you deserve.
I know that reminds me of this story. They had this lady during COVID. She was a fitness instructor, and I'm not quite sure why she could not. Maybe it was because of how many people were actually logging on, but she had developed such a huge following till she had to stop. When you say be careful what you wish for, that reminded me of me thinking as I got into this crafting world, I'm still employed on a 9 to 5. I can't possibly think that I would want to have such a volume, a large volume, that I would quit my job. Now, that sounds like something you would want to happen, but in reality, I'm still a one-man show. So, what would really be something that should happen and see as a blessing would be overwhelming, and I would actually have to turn things down. So you do have to consider what it is that you're asking and manifesting. Can you handle all that's coming in? Now, sometimes you might not realize it, that the volume coming in. And I'm thinking that's the way it was with the lady who was doing the exercise. She just got overwhelmed. But for me, I thought it out and said, no, what if I got orders that came in that I couldn't handle? Then I would have to fold, and
Right.
it just wouldn't be, productive at all. So that's how you have to look at it.
Prepare yourself
Alicia,
for blessings.
yes, absolutely. So Alicia, share with us a time that you manifest something and it came to tuition.
Quite a few things in life, but on a small scale, for me, it was a particular vehicle, a truck that I had wanted, and it was kind of outside of my financial grasp at the time. So, in line with the visionary, I just printed off a picture of the exact truck that I wanted, taped it to the dresser in my room, and every morning I woke up, it was right there. I looked at it, I touched it, and said, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. I had no idea of really how I was working a job and going to school at the same time, driving myself ragged. But in all honesty, I guess come close time. And I kept then in that aspect, I kind of did want it because I wanted it as a graduation gift to myself when I was graduating from the program I was in. And it actually happened. I would say probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks before I actually graduated from the program, I had that truck. And I knew I was on my way to another job to where now it was affordable.
Yes, I remember seeing that picture on the side of the dresser. I want to say,
I think it's still there to
something.
this day, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and I didn't see it while it was really there. It was a long time afterwards that I saw that picture,
Yeah,
and I said, "Well, I'll be darned. She got that truck."
I sure. And I had an apartment picture next to it.
That's
I
what
didn't
I
get the
thought.
exact
Okay,
apartment off the water that I wanted, but the design and layout was the same. So in
that's what I
that
was going to
aspect, yes,
say.
both things were achieved within that year of me taping those pictures up on that chest of drawer that was right next to where my head was. When I wake up, I look over, it was the first thing I saw.
And that's important, like you say, to see. Like Tawana with that poem, you have to focus on it. You have to be intentional about making the steps. It doesn't just you don't just say, "Ooh, I want a truck," and then you don't think nothing else about it, and hope one day you get a truck, and then you don't care if you don't. So, what lessons, Alicia, have you learned along the way that you believe will be valuable for our listeners?
I believe persistence and faith within yourself. because there are a lot of times that you may share or speak with people about goals and aspirations that you may have, and people tend to think that it's not achievable for you because they can't achieve it. So I like to drown out the outside. Sometimes you have to keep those things to yourself and focus, because like you said, you didn't notice it. It wasn't something that I was speaking to anyone about. It was just a personal goal for myself. And I felt like keeping it to myself and just manifesting it within myself didn't allow for any negativity to come in to say, well, you can't afford that. Not that you would, but just in general. I think sometimes it's important, just keep your intimate thoughts close and work towards achieving them. And silence speaks volumes. Once you start gaining things and people see it, then they'll be like, oh wow, you did that. Versus somebody saying, yeah, well, you might want to have a plan B, or so I think it's just important to just stay focused and believe in yourself and keep fighting towards that goal. Life is going to knock you down, but it's not in the failures, it's how you get up and proceed from there, which determines if you're successful or not. Yes. And a lot of times you just don't need outside influence or opinions. That's different from constructive criticism, but you have to be cautious because all criticism is not constructive.
Right. Absolutely. And you said something that you reminded me of. I had attended this workshop on vision board, and for the first time I heard someone say something that I thought was really interesting, that vision boards are personal. And
exactly.
A lot of times when we get together and everyone's cutting out these pictures and things, they have not thought about them. They're random. Okay, so we're flipping through the magazine. This looks nice. That looks nice. But a vision board should be intentional.
Exactly.
Think about what it is that you want to manifest. And then what you should do is divide your board up into 3 parts. The first part should be the things that you have already accomplished. So you would put that card there. Tawana would put her nonprofit there because you want to be reminded that things are possible because you have achieved those. So that keeps you motivated. Then in the middle, the things that you have thought out that you want to accomplish, not random pictures, but something that exact if you can. And then some form of affirmation or things, words that you choose or steps that you make or something that will also be mindful. So it's an intentional board. And when the one thing she brought out was in that box where you put something that you may have been successful at, it could be something personal. Someone could have overcome a bankruptcy. Or in the middle, it might be you want to manifest coming out of a bankruptcy. So that's not something that you want to sit in an open environment or show people your board. So when she made that point, because goals aren't always business related, they could be very personal. So that gave me a different spin on these vision boards. If they are in fact to be something that you want to really manifest that's personal, develop. If we're just talking about vacations or maybe something on a business aspect, that's different, but they can be really personal.
And exactly, and even stepping on the business aspect, in a similar way, I was working a very intense job that was really pretty much a lifestyle in logistics, where I was working 24/7, you might as well say, 6-7 days a week. And I had wanted to get into the filming industry, and I just kept telling myself, if there was just a way that I could still pay my bills and not have to work, I would really chase my dream. Mm-hmm. And then a year later, COVID hit. And the irony of that is that was exactly what I asked for. Yet when it first happened, it took me like a month or two to tune back into that. Because, at first everybody's sitting around thinking, okay, this is not going to last that long.
Right.
After a month or two, I literally woke up out of my sleep in the middle of my bed and said, this is exactly what you said. Now, granted, I'm not making the money that I was making before, but I still have a nice cushion in my bank account to where I can actually go purchase some equipment and start trying to learn and do this because I now have the time on my hands. And in the initial process of that, I really was kind of quiet with what I was trying to do and what my goals were. But as I started progressing in it, then I was speaking more about it. And then that's when now you have people that's willing to come on board and help and invest and got in line with my vision and assisted me. So in the sense that kind of was manifested as well and worked out to my benefit, although, the world opened back up and I still have to work a 9 to 5 as well as run my business. But it's just the thought of how you can still manifest things and forget sometimes. And then when you do have the opportunity to pursue it, you have to remember that's what you wanted.
Right.
And you have to still go for it because although life changed, my vision didn't change.
Right.
But it still kind of sometimes makes you think, nothing is open. Okay, now I have the problem when I have the equipment, but I still can't go out and film people.
Yeah, it made room for it. The
right, but it made room. Yes, the learning process, because then now there still was a learning curve. I have to learn software. I have to learn equipment. So it still allowed me that time to get the information and knowledge that I needed. So once things got back to normal, I was able to pursue it on a regular basis.
Right.
That's that preparation before your blessing.
Exactly. You still got to work for it. You still got to work towards it.
And Auntie, can I say something about the vision board and the privacy thing? It makes me think about when I recently learned about we did a what do you call it? Like a prayer vision board. Mm-hmm. And I love it because you attach, even though we did it in like a more public setting among the church, you glue envelopes to your vision board. And so say for instance, you put things on there like, a better job, a marriage, like you said, get out of bankruptcy or in debt or whatever your things are. Like you can slide what your vision is into those envelopes. But the other powerful thing about it is that you then can pursue scripture.
Right.
To directly connect you to those things that you're trying to manifest.
Yes.
And so to me, that was just a really beautiful way to solidify what you're saying you want to bring into your life.
Right.
By attaching the, scriptures that speak to that.
Yes. And it's personal. And the envelope is a great idea because you can still manifest it and put it in that envelope on your vision board and no one has to really see it.
Right, exactly.
Because a lot of times, think about it, if we have something that we don't want other people to know, then we're not going to put it on that board.
That's true.
Especially if it's open, for everyone to see in an environment. No one's going to sit up there and put the things that they probably desire the most that's been holding them back, if it's going to be exposed to everyone else.
And if your vision evolves, right. you can amend with that too.
So I thought that was an eye opener for me. I had never thought about it or considered it that way. So if I ever do another vision board class, I will do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Well, ladies, it's been my pleasure. I truly appreciate your time. Looking forward to you both coming back. If you have anything else at this time you'd like to say before we wrap it up, Tawana, I'll let you go first. If not, I appreciate everything you contribute to the conversation.
Yeah, I'll just say this, and I can't remember it verbatim, but I remember about a week ago seeing someone put a status or a tweet on X, formerly known as Twitter, and they said something about, if you don't write that book you've been dreaming to write, you'll spend the rest of your life watching bits and pieces of it be articulated by other people. And so it's like, I was like, wow, it is like that. It's like that film, like Alicia was talking about, or like things that you were talking about, Auntie, or myself. It's like, if you don't do that thing, it's gonna irk you
Right.
until you do it, because you're gonna see little bits of it everywhere until you do it. And so I'll just say, do it, get started.
Yes. Let go of whatever has been holding you back. That's where my let go come in, to get past anything that is holding you back.
Exactly.
Any words from you?
Um, I would say always believe in yourself and change your mind frame and way of thinking. Don't look at a loss as a failure, but more so as a lesson, because there's definitely valuable information to be gained. And just keep fighting for what you want and you will achieve it. Don't give up.
Amen.
Okay, ladies, I'm gonna wish you both the best for 2024 and your manifestation goals. I'm sure you will achieve them and do your best, and I appreciate your time. This concludes our empowerment series, and I want to thank you all for tuning in. And I'd like to encourage you to pursue your goals and dreams, no matter what they are, for 2024, despite what the statistics show. You can do it, and I believe in you. Until next time, don't forget to pamper yourself. Goodbye.